Um, well, in high school, I never picked up a pencil until junior year, and I was okay at drawing, and my grades sucked. And I wanted to go to a good school because my family is this Jewish family where there's a little bit of pressure. My son Harry goes to Harvard. There's this big push to succeed academically. So when I got into the Art Institute, which is somehow claiming they're the number one art school in the nation, I'd like to see that claim, but it's what they say, and so that was respectable. So I went to art school, and I think I enjoyed it. It's not that I didn't want to be an artist, but that I didn't have a particular mission or cause until probably sophomore year. I was about 20 years old, and I was visiting my grandfather, who's an architect. But anyway, I was up late watching television in his living room, and he came out around 3 a.m. I was like, "Grandpa, why are you awake?" And he goes, "Well, when you get older, it's tough to sleep." I go, "Okay," and he kind of looks at me, and he goes, "When you get older, make sure you've done something to change this world." I was like, "What?" He's like, when you get older, it's too late to make a difference." And I thought that was interesting, and my own interpretation of that was here's this man who's done so many great things in my mind, has raised my father well, has had a great family. They're not divorced. There's no drug problems in the family. He's done a good job raising his kids, and they've all been successful in their own way. And he saw that he measured it up to nothing. He really wanted to better his surroundings, and for him to think that he hadn't, that was really shocking to me. And so I thought about what I wanted to do then with my work, and I thought that if I don't do anything, as an artist, you have great potential to just take. The guy who makes corn, the farmer who grows corn, he's making a profit off that, but he's providing food. As an artist, what do you provide back to your community that you're taking from? And I think artists definitely do provide a lot, but I had to think about it. And for me, what I wanted to do, especially after hearing this talk from someone who's been through life and who has measured himself against himself, because he has enough years to do that. I want to change the world. As a big theme of my work has always been growth, the idea of evolution, or things becoming other objects, the transformations, and really the process of those transformations. I was trained as a CGI artist, 3D, like Shrek style animation, and I found that in this realm, this 3D realm, I was able to create anything. It's like playing God. You get free space, and you don't have to be limited in your scope by something like a pen or paper. At least for me, it was very liberating. I found that I created an animation, it's about 4 minutes long, called senescent, which is a word that means it's the act of growing old or aging. And throughout this film, some strong themes to me. I've got a lot of semen in it. I've got a lot of these very obvious growth metaphors. There's a point where a sperm crashes into this god head, and it births what was pretty much a symbol for Athena, who then spits mounds of sperm out of her mouth. And it's not a gross out thing. It's a way to have a very honest conversation about how things grow. And people don't like to talk about it. The stork brings the baby. People are always trying to cut off the process because it's icky and it's wet and it involves hard work. And so I want to touch upon that in my work. All my work is chronicling this growth. And any way I can show that. In my animation, I have very obvious symbols. In my work outside of that realm, I try to get a fertile ground ready. So like for the CTA show I did for Art on Track, I provided these cards. I had sown the land for other artists to come and plant their seed, and I viewed it very much as this artsy moss. We were sort of growing over the city and covering it, not hiding what was down there, but rather changing its nature. And again, that evolution, which is just inherent to any change, also really interested me. And I don't see myself as controlling that change, because I don't think I can, and I think it'd be presumptuous of me to pretend I could, but I like to be that catalyst. I like to facilitate that change and be the observer. And so hopefully in retrospect I'll have an interesting piece. I don't think you can view my work as it's going. I think you have to look back on it and say, well, that was good or that was bad. But while it's happening, you wouldn't know. The latest thing I approached was a sculptural project. I wanted to create a calling card to Chicago artists, a beacon, which is what I ended up calling this thing. And what it is it's a 40-foot tall LED structure comprised of 6 different spires. These spires start at about 10 feet wide, go 40 feet up and thin out to about a foot. And it sort of creates this flame, this campfire. The inspiration for this was a story, again from history. It's Alexander the Great. When he went out with his army, he was the first to put down his fire. He built his campfire, which was the largest because he's feeding all his generals and his lieutenants. And then the other soldiers would come in and form their fires around the center. And so that was a strategy to protect him, but it also is a powerful symbol of you have to set up the greatness. You have to give people this idea, and they will flock to it, and they will join, and they will lend their fire to it. But we had to give something to the Chicago community that would inspire them, that would say, this is what you have to do. You can't just, come, oh, I did my tag on a wall, oh, I set up an apartment in my gallery. I mean, that's wonderful, that's part of it, but you have to think bigger than that. And I think people can. I think they just need that nudge. So anyway, the design of this thing is that it can be used to broadcast local events, basically. We're placing it in Wicker Park, ideally, on top of the Flatiron Arts Building, and it will show work from those artists, other artists around Chicago. It'll show video work. We're going to invite people from around the world to project their things on this. We have a cost estimate for it. It's going to be about a $6 million project. I'm gonna ask the Olympic Committee, hopefully, for half of that in so many ways. The way we're going to pay it off, because again it has to be self-sufficient, we're going to run advertising on it. And the idea would be is that at certain points of the night these advertisements would come on, but you get your artist's work, and then Pepsi Cola or Sprint or whatever you have. Is Sprint still around? I don't know. But this is also, I was talking with a friend who was concerned about the advertisements as far as how they fit into the public sphere, but I don't know if you're familiar with Poster Boy in Chicago. I'm getting off topic now. He's a guy who took ads and he'd rip them up and he'd replace them and create his own message. And I think that part of our contemporary environment are these ads. They're everywhere. It's oversaturated with them. So you have to include them. If you don't include advertising in your public work, you've not really created an honest public work. And when I say honest, you don't need to create an honest work. In a way like The Beam in Millennium Park is not an honest work. I would defend that by saying that it doesn't fit with the city. But the fact that it's dishonest is what makes it so great. It's really important for me to enact change, specifically change that betters others around me. Because ultimately, my personal success is not going to be as important as sort of a general raising in standards of living or whatever, because ultimately if you raise everyone's standard of living, even if you're not living high and mighty, you're still living in a better world. And I think that it's going to be a better place for everybody, rather than maybe as an artist you have great potential to go the rock star route and have it be really great for you, but I'm not as interested in that. That's why I'm an artist.